welcome back for episode number 165 of the weekly playback. So I'm shooting this video on Thanksgiving Day, November 27th. That's because the next few days are going to be very busy. So later today, I'm going to my sister's house for dinner. So because we always have Thanksgiving Day off, the family usually tries to get together and have dinner together. It's not like we're actually like celebrating the arrival of the Pilgrims and then the genocide of the Native Americans that would then happen. I mean, no one should be celebrating any kind of genocide. So we're not really celebrating Thanksgiving in the sense that, you know, a lot of Americans celebrate it because of the terrible things that then happened as a result of the Pilgrims arriving. But because we have the day off, we usually get together as a family and just have dinner. Although last year we did not do that. And last year my birthday fell on Thanksgiving Day. So I was left without any plans for my birthday. And it was the first time in a very long time where my family decided not to get together. But then my local gaming friend, Bruce, he and his family were very gracious and invited me to their home for Thanksgiving, which was very, very kind of them. So anyway, back on track. So I'm going to my sister's house later today for Thanksgiving dinner, or just a dinner rather. And then tomorrow is Friday, which is my birthday. So I have to get the tires changed on my car. So I have an appointment. It was the first available appointment, which happened to be on my birthday. So I'm getting the tires changed on my car because they're very bad. And in upstate New York, you need really good tires to, you know, be able to drive in the very snowy weather. And then I'm going to have a game night at my house in the evening to just kind of celebrate my birthday. Then Saturday I have to drive a couple of hours for a wedding and then back Sunday morning. So for that reason I decided to shoot my video today because this weekend is going to be very busy. I have done a lot of driving in the last few days, even after PAX Unplugged though, because I take my cats to a veterinarian that is about 2 hours and 15 minutes away because I haven't found a veterinarian locally which I trust as much. And this is the same vet that Dobby had, who is right here, Dobby. So I take my cats to this veterinarian. So they had their annual checkup on Tuesday. So I drove them 2 hours and 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more, sometimes with traffic, to this doctor. And then Toffee, poor Toffee, he has like some kind of a dental disease. And last year, I think it was last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, he had to have a bunch of teeth removed. And then again, this year, she saw that a couple of his teeth needed to be removed. So he had to stay overnight. So then I drove back with Zaytoon, like 2 hours, 15 minutes. And then he had his surgery yesterday on Wednesday, and then I had to go and pick him up. I decided, my mom who lives there locally, she was able to go and pick up Toffee after his surgery and then keep him in her house for a few hours. And then so I went to her house to pick him up last night, and he was just acting very cutesy. Like, I don't know if it was like the pain meds or what was going on, but he was just being super, super duper cute. Yeah, so anyway, so then I had to pick him up because I didn't want to wait until the wedding this weekend because poor Zaytoon really missed his brother and was not eating his food at all. So yeah, so then I went and drove again last night to bring Toffee back home. So anyway, so that's been the last couple of days. And of course I'll have a whole section about PAX Unplugged where I talk about that. Yeah, so anyway, so we'll see how many games I get through and stuff. So I think I will be editing this video tonight and then posting it on Friday. I think I'll do that. We'll see. So you might be seeing this video a bit earlier than usual. All right, let's just get started. Let's talk about Emberheart. This is a 2025 game for 2 to 4 players, designed by Rob Fisher and Adam Porter, and the art is done by Andrew Bosley, and it's published by Mind Clash Games. And this is a review copy which I received from Mind Clash Games at PAX Unplugged. So in this game, you are basically these people who are trying to rescue dragons from poachers, and yeah, so you're just trying to rescue dragons. So each person will have a player board that looks something like this, and you'll see 3 different attribute tracks, and we'll talk about what those are. And then each player will have a certain number of components. So everyone will have 5 of these crest discs, which you're going to be using throughout the game. So you'll have 5 of those. You'll have 1 flame tracker, and we'll talk about what all of this means. And then of course your attribute markers to indicate where on the different attribute tracks you are. And then everyone will have 1 companion dragon, and everyone's dragon looks a little bit different. So like that's the green dragon, for example. Here's the orangey dragon, and so on. Okay, and then you start the game with 10 of these grunt tokens, which all just look like Rodney Smith, but luckily you don't have to pay attention to the face too much when you're playing. You can just grab them. You can just tell what they are by the border color on the outside, so you can just ignore his face if you want to, like I want to ignore it. And then you will start with 2 gear tokens. So these are very useful, and we'll talk about what they do. In the game, there are other specialized workers. So you have, let me just find their official names. So you have the Scout, which is the yellow ones. And then you have the Rangers, which are the blue ones, and then the purple, which are the Wardens. So the Scouts can be sent to only the Heroes Guild, the Tavern, and the Poachers Camp. The Rangers can only be sent to the Garrison and the Preserve, and the Wardens can only be sent to the Mountain. The Mountain is where you will find dragons which are worth more points. So there's different locations on the board. So let me just show you the board. And we'll talk about all the locations in detail, but here is the board. So you'll see all the different areas. There's going to be different cards placed everywhere. Like here in the Heroes Guild, you're going to have hero cards which you're trying to acquire. Here is the Tavern. You're going to be picking up cards that will give you more specialized workers or grunts at the end of a round. Here is the Poachers Camp, where you can rescue dragons, but those dragons are worth fewer points than the dragons you would get in the Mountain. And just again, the Mountain is the only section where the Wardens are used. Then you have the Preserve, where you can pick up Preserve cards, and then the Garrison, which are these kind of like mission cards that you're trying to fulfill for points by collecting a certain number of things. And then down here we have the Poacher's Raid. There's going to be 2 raid cards, one of which will be resolved by all the players at the end of a round. Here we have Ambassador Aid tokens, which I'll talk about what those are. And then here we have just 2 general locations. We have the Warehouse, where if you place one of your crest tokens, you can gain 2 gear. And then we have the Fire Station, where if you place one of your crest tokens, you can gain 4 grunts, but you increase by 1 space on the flame track. The flame track is something that you are going to be adjusting as you take various actions throughout the game. The person who is farthest right on the flame track, meaning they have the most flame at the end of the game, will not gain any extra points at the end of the game, but all the players behind that player will gain points depending upon how far they're behind they are from the rightmost player. Okay. So on your turn, what are you going to do? So firstly, at any point during your turn, you can exchange a gear token to turn any one worker into another worker. So that's most useful for turning these grunts, which are general workers that can be sent to any location on the board, into specialized workers. Now, the reason you would want to turn these grunts into a specialized worker is because at the end of the round, when you're resolving the different locations for rewards, the grunts get sent back to the supply. They do not come back to you, whereas all the specialized workers do come back to you, except for the Wardens. You might lose some Wardens in the Mountain depending on how many Wardens you placed there. So these ones might not come back to you as well, but the Scouts and the Rangers will definitely come back to you. The grunts will not. So that's why you might want to spend a gear token to convert a grunt into a specialized worker. So what you're going to do on your turn, so again, you can either place a stack of workers with your crest token on top of it in a location. So that's one of the things you can do. So when you do that, the number of workers you're placing has to match the number of the number that you're putting it on. So if I have 3 workers, I'm going to put it on the number 3 spot with my crest token on top to show that those are my tokens, that is my party. It's called a party. So you can place workers in a location matching the number of the workers you have, or you can place a crest token into the warehouse to gain those gear tokens, or into the fire station to gain 4 grunts and advance on the flame track. And you can do that as many times as you want. So there's no limit to the number of times you can do that. Or you will take one of the aid tokens that appear down here. So there are 4 aid tokens there for each round. You start the game with 4 aid tokens there. And these aid tokens will trigger the end of the game when all 4 of them are taken. So if you decide on a turn to take the leader token will be, so you will be the first player in the next round. Additionally, when you take this token, you may recall a party from any of the common locations and then immediately choose to place a new party with the same or a different composition. You may recall your companion this way, but cannot place it again this round. So this is the companion, and I'll talk about how you use the companion in a little bit. So if you take the leader token, that is what that would do, and you would keep it with you until the end of the round, until the reset phase. The defender, if you choose to take the defender, this will, you can then discard one of the 2 face-up raid cards. So you are the person who gets to decide which raid the players are going to have to resolve at the end of the round by discarding one of them. If you take the survivalist, you immediately gain a gear token and you break ties when claiming rewards from the mountain. And then lastly, you have the healer. When you take this, you can decrease your flame by 2, because again, you want to try to keep your flame low so that you can try to gain some points at the end of the game. So when a player takes the last available aid, finish the current turn until the last player in player order has finished their action phase. If you take the last aid and the next player has the first player marker, the action phase immediately ends and the game proceeds to the reward phase. If you have no crest left and there are no more aid tokens available, simply skip your final turn. It's possible to finish the action phase with an unused crest. This may happen if you take too many aids, so plan your actions wisely. So again, these aid markers are what are going to trigger the end of a round. So you're going to be, taking these, and one player might end up taking 2 or even 3. Who knows? So yeah, so those are something to pay attention to. So when you're placing out your party, so we talked about the 3 different things you can do on your turn. You can place out a party with a crest token on top of it. You can place a crest token into the fire station or the warehouse, or you can take one of these aid tokens. So those are the things you're going to be doing on your turn. When you place out a party in a location, you might want to use your companion. So that is placing your dragon on top of your crest token, on top of all the workers you just placed. You can use your companion once per round. What this does is it allows you to activate your special attribute abilities. So if I placed a companion and my attribute was on the 1 space in the red attribute, that means I get a discount of 1 grunt. If I was in the 3rd space, I would get a discount of 2 grunts. If I was in this space, I would get a discount of 3 grunts. So if I decided to place my companion on top of my crest, I could place down, for example, 3 workers in a certain location, and instead of having those 3 workers be 3 grunts, instead of having those 3 workers be 3 grunts, I could instead place 2 grunts and still place this in the 3 location because I have a discount. And again, just remember that you want to try to use specialized workers because those will come back to you. So for example, if I'm placing workers in a 4 location, I can use, for example, 2 scouts, for example, and 2 grunts. So then at the end of the round, when that location gets resolved, I would get the 2 scouts back, but these would go to the general supply because you always lose the grunts. So you want to try to use specialized workers as much as you can because you will gain them back at the end of a round. And again, you can always convert 1 gear token to change, you can turn in 1 gear token to change 1 worker to any other type. And that includes converting from 1 specialized worker to another specialized worker, or converting a specialized worker into a grunt if you want to do that for some reason. And you might want to do that for certain scoring conditions. So let's talk about the different locations. In the Heroes Guild, when you place your party there, what you're trying to do is you're trying to obtain one of the 3 face-up hero cards. So hero cards are heroes, which are going to give you special abilities, and you'll get a little bit of an engine going in this game. So you need to attach a dragon of a matching color in order to activate your hero's ability. So for example, let me find one whose meaning I know right away. So for example, no, let's do this one. I'm trying to do an easier one that you guys might understand as well. All right, let's just do this one. So this one is the Fire Sage. So let's suppose I ended up claiming this hero during the reward phase from the Heroes Guild. I would need to attach a red dragon to this in order to activate this ability. So the ability is going to be an ongoing ability. This one says during raid phase, you may increase a flame, you may increase your flame marker by 1 to prevent discarding up to 2 workers, because raids usually require you to just permanently discard a worker from your supply. So that would prevent you from doing that, but you'd have to increase your flame. And then you always have an end of game scoring on the bottom of each hero card, which if you meet it, you will gain those points at the end of the game. Now, when you attach a dragon to a hero card, that dragon cannot be then removed later. So once you attach a dragon, it is with that hero for the rest of the game, or with the preserve card. There are preserve cards that you can also attach dragons to, and you want to get preserve cards because those will allow you to increase your markers on these attribute tracks. So that's what the heroes do. So you want to get heroes to get a good engine going, and of course gain points and special abilities and so on. The tavern is where you will get these cards that will allow you to collect various workers at the end of the round. So let me just show you the various cards. So that is not that. Okay, the tavern. So the tavern cards look like these. So again, there's going to be 3 face-up cards, and once you claim a card, you will gain whatever is listed on that card, but you might also have to increase or decrease your flame depending on what's on the card. So, you know, obviously the more you get, then you're probably going to have to increase your flame like this. So again, when you resolve areas, you're going to resolve them from the highest value to the lowest value. So if you were in the 5 space, you will get to choose first, and then the person in the 4 space will get to choose, and then the person in the 3 space. So in a 4-player game, someone might not be able to collect a card from a certain location, but fear not, because you will still gain something. So during the rewards phase, it says if you choose not to take a card or there are no cards left for you, you may recall your entire party, including grunts, and gain 2 gear tokens from the common supply. So if you are left with no options, or you choose that you don't, or you decide you don't like any of the options available when it gets to your turn, then you can just choose to take gear tokens instead and recall your entire party. Okay, so that is what the tavern does. The poacher's camp, you are going to find dragons in the poacher's camp. However, these dragons are not worth as much as dragons that you will find in the mountain. So here you will see the dragons with their point values. And here we have a multicolored dragon, which can be assigned to any color hero or preserve. So it's a wild dragon, but as you can see, it's worth only 1 point, and it will always increase your flame by 1. So you will, if you really desperately need a dragon, then maybe take a wild dragon. The mountain. So the mountain is an area which is resolved in a special way. So first you are going to look at who's in the highest position. And again, the survivalist aid will break ties. And then you will get to first pick a dragon from the bottom level of the mountain. If you are the first one there, then the second person, then the third person. And some of these dragons may require you to discard a warden. So for example, if this was on the bottom layer and I wanted this dragon, I would have to permanently remove a warden. Then you're going to take the remaining parties and place them in order over here from top to bottom, with the person with the highest value going at the top and so on. And then if you want to claim a dragon from the second area, you have to discard a warden. Plus, if the dragon card says to discard a warden, you would have to do that as well. So it's possible you might have to discard 2 wardens in order to get a dragon from the second area. And then you're going to do the same thing. And then the person who obviously is at the very top will get to take the topmost dragon if they want to. But again, that will require them to discard a warden, and possibly from the card as well. They will increase their flame marker, but they will also get to go up on one of the attribute tracks 1 space. So the mountain is a little bit different because you are going to be discarding your wardens and not gaining them back at the end of the round. But these dragons are worth more points. As you can see, this one is worth 7. And I think that 7 is the maximum number of points you can get from one of these dragons. So yeah, so higher point value dragons in the mountain. Then we have the preserve. So the preserve is where you will find these pretty cards. And once you attach a dragon to them, you will be able to go up that number of spaces on that specific attribute track. And why do you want to go up on these attribute tracks? Because number one, they will give you special abilities if you use your companion as indicated for that specific attribute track. Like you would say, okay, I'm doing this and I get to trigger this blue attribute and blah, blah, blah. So I'll explain that in a minute. But also the higher up you go on these tracks, the more points you are going to get. You are going to get the highest value point of where your attribute marker is on a certain track. So if I end with my red marker here, I would get this number of points instead of this one. If you reach the very top, you'll see that you'll gain a lot of points. So if I'm using my companion, I already explained how the red one works. Basically, I can get a discount of a grunt. The blue one, you have to place your companion on top of a party that is placed on a number 3 space in any location. If you do that, then you will gain gear tokens corresponding to how far your attribute marker is. So, you know, it's possible you might be able to trigger 2 of these attributes at once, or even all 3. So, for example, if I went to a 3 location and I spent some grunts and I was able to get a discount, but I could also gain some gear tokens based on my companion. And then the last attribute space marker, green, if your companion is the only companion and the only party in a certain location, you will get to decrease your flame value. So that, you know, you have to wait until the end of the round to see whether or not you can do that. So the other 2, the red and blue, you can do immediately, get your discount of a grunt or gain a gear token if you went on the level 3 space, the number 3 space. But the last one, the green one, you have to wait until the round is finished, the action phase is finished, to see whether you can decrease your flame, whether you were the only party in that location. So those are the various attributes which will give you more and more powers the higher up you go on these tracks and the more points you will get. So again, you're going to take turns placing out workers, specialized workers, and grunts. Again, specialized workers come back to you unless they're wardens in the mountain, and grunts go back to the common supply. Then during the resolve phase, once all of these aid tokens have been taken and you have triggered game end, then you go to the reward phase. And starting with the bottom left location, you are going to resolve each location in order. So you're going to start with the Heroes Guild, then go to the Tavern, then the Poacher's Camp, then the Mountain, then the Preserve, and then the Garrison. So at the Garrison, you will find cards that look like this. And these are going to be numbered in order. So let me actually, sorry, those are not the Garrison cards, these ones. They will start with the lowest point value on top, and they will increase in point value and difficulty. So let me just show you what these look like. And there's going to be 1 of each color available per round. So here is one that is red, for example. So if you manage to complete this, you would get 3 points. Now, when you claim a card from the Garrison, you don't have to be able to meet its requirements right away. You can fulfill its requirements later on, but simply you can just take a card and, you know, place it into your player area to show that that's your card that you have available to complete. So in order to complete this card, you would need 1 red dragon and to have 3 gears in your supply. And once you complete it, you would be able to tuck this under your board to show it's completed and go up 1 space on the red attribute track. And they're just going to get harder and harder. So the highest value red card is this one, which is worth 7 points, but you need a total of 5 red dragons and 4, I think those are heroes, if I remember correctly. Yes, heroes. So they're going to get harder and harder to achieve, but you're not going to get to the bottom ones unless people start actually taking them. So you're always only going to have 3 visible, 1 of each color, and then if someone takes a card, then the bottom one will appear. So the next one will appear. Although I think you actually, do you discard those? Because for all the other areas, you discard the remaining cards at the end of a round, even if they weren't taken, before you place out new ones. So let's see if you do that in the Garrison as well. So during the reset phase, no, you would So it says, at the garrison, fill up the empty card slots with the top card of the corresponding deck, red, blue, and green. This way, there will always be a garrison card of each color available in an increasing glory order. So if someone did not take a garrison card, that would just remain for the next round. So you would still have, like, for example, if someone took a red card and a blue card, but not the green one, then in the next round, you would have a level 4 of 2 of them, but a level 3 of the one that no one took. So you know, that's how the garrison is going to work. But for the rest of the areas, they have the exact number of cards you need in order to play 5 rounds. So any remaining cards would be discarded, and then you put out the fresh new 3 cards in each location, or in the mountain, it's more than 3, obviously. It's 3, 5, 6 cards. So that is essentially the game. So let's just talk about game end. So, you know, you're going to be collecting your rewards during the reward phase, and then you reset for the next round. And there are 5 rounds. And then at the end of the game, final scoring. So you will add up the glory value of each of your dragons, regardless of whether they are attached or not. And again, once a dragon attaches to a preserve or a hero, you could not remove that dragon to attach it to something else. The highest unlocked glory value on each attribute track, so you'll gain points for that. The glory value of each hero card, provided that a dragon of the matching color is attached and the scoring condition is met. So you cannot gain points from your hero cards unless you had a dragon attached to it, of course. And obviously you wouldn't have been able to use its ongoing ability unless you had attached a dragon to it. The glory value of each completed garrison card. The final position of your flame marker on the flame track. So how the flame track works is the person who's farthest right won't get any points. And then from the farthest right player, you will count up how many spaces you are from that player. And then based on how many spaces far behind you are from that player, you will gain a certain number of points. So the farther behind you are from that player, the more points you will get. And then whoever has the most points will win. So that is Emberheart. I absolutely loved this game. I really sucked at it. So we played a 3-player game. I would love to play a 4-player game because I think it will be way more competitive and cutthroat, especially since there is no other side to this board. So there's always only going to be 3 cards in all these locations available. So if you're playing a 4-player game, you know, someone might end up getting just gear tokens in a certain location instead. But I ended the game with 53 points, and then the other players had 81 and 82 points. So they had a very close game. I did not. And the reason is I think I went in too much too fast. Like I started spending way too many grunt tokens early on, trying to get big stuff early on. Like I was the first player to get a hero card. I was the first player to get a dragon from the poacher's camp, and so on, by spending my grunt tokens really early on. So I think that was a mistake, and that's what the other players said. So they started out a little bit slowly and then ramped up, whereas I went in super fast, super early. Yeah, so really like hard really early, which probably should not do. But oh my god, this was such an enjoyable game, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved the artwork, except for Rodney's face on all those grunt tokens. But yeah, otherwise I absolutely loved this game, and I would highly recommend it. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, then you should definitely check it out. So that was Emberheart, and thank you again to Mind Clash for this review copy. So let's move on. Let's talk about Take Time. Take Time is a 2025 game for 2 to 4 players designed by Alexis Piovesan and Julien Prothier, and the art is done by Maud Chalmal, and it's published by Libelud Games. And this is a review copy which I received from Asmodee at PAX Unplugged. So this is a cooperative game with communication limits. You can talk a little bit before each round, but then that's it. And there are limitations on what you can discuss before each round before you start playing. So in this game, it's divided into 10 chapters, each containing 4 tests, which are represented by clocks. Each time you play, you can attempt to complete any number of these tests in series for as long or short a play session as you desire. So you're going to start with clock 1 from chapter 1, and then if you proceed, you will go to the next clock in that chapter, and so on. If you fail a test, you can try it again, or you can attempt to play it later with some kind of a disability, a handicap. No, sorry, that would take away your ability, with some kind of a token that will help you. Yeah, so you can do that if you want to. So you're going to have these envelopes numbered 1 through 10, I guess. I don't remember how many numbers there are, but they give you way more envelopes than you need because I think if you fail something, you can then put it into the other envelope if you want and come back to it later. So many envelopes, more than are necessary, I think. But each one is going to contain these really pretty clocks and the how you play. So each one is going to also contain specific rules for that envelope. So these are clocks from envelope 1, so I'm not going to be giving away too much here. And then you're going to have these cards, day and night cards, which are numbered 1 through 12. So 12 cards in each color. So you're going to shuffle all of the cards and then give a certain number of cards to each player. So let's see, how many do you give to each player? So yeah, in a 3-player or 4-player game, each person will receive 3 cards. No, sorry, in a 4-player game, each one receives 3 cards. In a 3-player game, each person receives 4 cards. In a 2-player game, you will receive 6 cards, but they're divided into 2 groups. You'll get one group of 4 cards and then one group of 2 cards. And I did play a 2-player game of this. So I'm just going to pretend that I'm playing a 3-player game so that we each have 3 cards. Because it'll just make it easier for me to explain rather than the 2-player game. But there's really not too much of a difference. So basically, at the start of the game, at the start of a clock, you're going to just, not give any hints about what numbers you have, but you can kind of discuss strategy about how you think the test should be passed. The earliest test is super easy because you start with this infinity symbol in the middle, which means that each section that you're going to resolve can be any total. So you can have numbers there that amount to anything. However, in subsequent clocks, you're going to have to stay within a certain limit for each section that you resolve as to what those totals can be. Here, this one indicates that there have to be exactly 3 cards next to this section. This one indicates that there has to be exactly 1 card that is white. So those are your restrictions for this clock. As you increase in difficulty, as you increase in level, the difficulty of these clocks will increase. So you can talk about things like in the beginning, like, oh, I think maybe we should place like just 1 card in this section, or, you want to start with lower numbers and then go higher. Like you can talk in general terms about, some strategy, but you obviously cannot indicate what numbers you have in your hand or things like that. So in turn order, you're just going to take a turn placing a card down. In any game you play, so I'll show you these. You will have these tokens. So in a 2-player game, you will have this gear, and this shows that 2 cards can be played face up around the clock. In a 4-player game, 4 cards can be played face up around the clock. If you fail a test, you can gain one of these tokens to help you the next time you try it, which means you'll get to play 1 additional card face up. So those are what, those tokens are, that's what they are. So you're going to place your cards face down, and then you have to keep them in order as well. I believe the order can matter in certain instances. And then again, you can place certain cards face up according to the gear that you are playing with, according to the player number. Then once all the cards have been played, you will start with the clock hand and start resolving each section. So you'll reveal all the cards in that section, and the number has to get higher. The total has to get higher. So you have to have, like, for example, if the total of these cards was 3, then this one can be 3 or 4. So it can be the same or higher, but it cannot be lower than this one. Then this one could be like 5 or 6 or something like that. But if you ever have a total that is lower than the previous one, then you fail the test. So you want the totals to increase as you're going around the clock. So when you start with an easy clock, your total can exceed 24 in any one section. So that's pretty easy. But then as you move farther and farther along into the game, it's going to get harder and harder. So for example, this one, now each section can only have a total of, I believe the maximum total you can have in any section is 24, but let me just double check. I believe it's 24, which is still a pretty high number, but it's going to, when it comes to the last section of the clock, then when you think about it, it's not that high of a number because you have 2 12 cards. And if you have high numbered cards in your hand, you're going to maybe want to just stick all of them in the last section, but you can't do that because you might exceed the total then of 24. So let's just see what the total is. I believe it's 24. Resolution phase. Yeah, the value of each segment must be less than or equal to 24. Note that this limit does not apply to the first 3 clocks from chapter 1, as indicated by the infinity symbol in the middle of the clock. So again, as you get farther and farther into your challenges, they're going to get harder and harder. Like for example, this I believe was the last, no, is that the last clock in chapter 1? I think it is. So for the last clock in chapter 1, this section has to have exactly 1 blue and 1 white card. And this section has to equal exactly 6, or I believe, sorry, not exactly 6. Your rule will specify exactly what that means. So in this one, it says, yeah, no other segment can have a value closer to the depicted number than this segment's value. So that's what this one specifically means. So again, each chapter will come with a specific rule set as well. So again, you can see that each clock is going to get harder and harder. And as this is a no communication game, you are basically trying to place your cards in such a way that you will pass the test. Typically, I'm not a fan of cooperative games, and typically I'm not a fan of no communication games, but I found this one to be fun. Like anytime we passed a clock, I got excited. I was like, oh yay, we did it. Like it was actually fun. I actually enjoyed this game, which I did not think I would, considering that it's a no communication cooperative game. Like I did not enjoy the crew and games like that because I just am like usually like, what's the point? Like I just don't see the point. Like we're not mind readers, like we're just trying to play certain cards and hoping that other people understand us. But there's more strategy to this one than games like those. And because you have specific rules that you're trying to follow as well, I feel like there's, you know, it just makes it a little bit more structured and a challenge that you can strategize to try to meet. So that's why I actually enjoyed this game, and I'm actually looking forward to trying other chapters in this game. So yeah, this was actually a really fun game, and I'm glad that I received a review copy of it. And it doesn't hurt that it's absolutely beautiful as well. Like look at these really pretty folders, like just absolutely stunning. And the clocks inside of them just really pretty as well. So yeah, just a really stunning, fun, cooperative game. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then you should check it out. And again, this was a review copy that I received from Asmodee at PAX Unplugged. So let's move on. Let's talk about Tokaido Duo. This is a 2022 game for 1 to 2 players designed by Antoine Bauza, and the art is done by Xavier Guenefé-Durin, and it's published by Stonemaier Games, and this is a review copy which I received from Stonemaier. So I played one game of this, 1 2-player game of this, and I will say that I enjoyed this more than the multiplayer Tokaido because I felt like I was able to strategize a bit more than in that game. And when I play regular Tokaido, I always feel like, you know, the last player in turn order just gets completely screwed over, and it's kind of hard to recover from that and try to compete with the others. However, in this game, I do not feel that way. So let me just show you the board. So the board looks like this. And there's different sections on the board. So you'll have like different, like, you know, towns along the sea over here. You'll have like different like little villages. And then you'll also have like a worker that you'll be moving your artist from like white location to white location, following different paths, like different routes that you can use. So each person is going to have 3 of the same workers. So each person will have a merchant, a pilgrim, and an artist. And on the artist, you're going to be collecting different sorry, you start with pieces on here that you're going to be trying to remove, if I remember correctly. Sorry, it's been a while since I played this. Oh, and each person does get these player aids, which is very helpful. So your player aid will go into great detail about which each thing does. So yeah, so the artist, you're traveling from one area to an adjacent area by crossing the orange trade routes to paint sublime landscapes and gift them to passerbyers in fateful encounters. So you're going to move your artist a number of areas matching the number on the die, and then choose one of the following two actions, either paint or gift a painting. And you can have your artist in the same area as the other people. So let me just show you the various player components. So yeah, so for the artist, you're going to have a certain number of paintings placed randomly onto your artboard. And you're going to be trying to paint these paintings and gift them if you're in the same location that matches that. So we'll talk about that. Oh, but obviously you're going to start with them face down. Sorry. So you start with them face down on your board, and once you've painted them, you reveal them by turning them face up. So you're going to start with all these covered with face down paintings, and you're going to be trying to reveal them in order as you paint. The pilgrim will move clockwise around the island, always landing on the stations located on its outskirts. So they can move through stations that are occupied by another character, counting that space as part of their move. However, if a pilgrim would land on an occupied station, they must instead land on the next empty station and may only use the effect of this new arrival station. So they're going to be going to different areas, so they can end up in coastal towns where they'll gain a certain number of coins. They can go to temples where they will advance their peg 1 slot on their temple track. They can go to the garden where they would advance their peg a slot on the garden, and so on. They can go to a hot springs where they would get a special token. They could go to the seashore where they might get special tokens, and so on. And then finally you have the merchant, which moves only along trade routes, orange, linking mountain towns and coastal towns. So you will traverse a number of trade routes matching the number on the die, then you may interact with the station there. So basically the active player is going to roll 3 dice, and then if you are the active player, the first player in that round, you will be taking 2 dice and the other person will be taking 1. So when you roll these 3 dice, they represent the different workers. So 1 die represents an artist, 1 die represents a pilgrim, and 1 die represents a merchant. So you're going to roll these dice, and then you, as the first player, will get to decide which die you want to take, and that's how many spaces you will move that particular worker. Then the other player will pick a die, and then you, as the first player, will get the remaining die. So you will get a chance to have 2 dice, and the other person will have 1 die, and it's going to keep on alternating between rounds. So one round, one person will be first, the next round the other person will be first, and so on, back and forth, back and forth. And you're going to be trying to move your characters around the board and do different things and trigger different things. So each person will have meeples that represent all the different characters. So for example, for purple, let me just bring out the meeples. So here you go. So you have like your pilgrim, you have your artist with the paintbrush, and then you have your merchant, which I'm not sure. Yeah, that's how that one works. I think it's like a backpack, your merchant. So each person is going to have 3 meeples that will be moving around the board in the ways that they are allowed to move. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but basically there's going to be a bag of tokens that you as the merchant will be, trying to collect, and then you'll be trying to sell these for coins and so on. So there's different things that you can collect here and then sell them in various locations to get gold. The pilgrim, we talked about a little bit about how they can go around to the different areas like the coastal town, the temples, and the gardens. And you're going to have tracks, so you'll have pegs in here. And at the end of the game, depending on how far you are on each peg, that will equal a certain number of points. It's like a multiplier kind of thing. And then the artist, when you are painting, you will get to flip over paintings, but then you're trying to sell those paintings as well. So you can sell those paintings if the location your artist is in matches the painting type. So you'll see that the painter will be in certain locations, and these drawings are what are depicted on the painting tiles. So if you can end up in a location that matches, then you will be able to sell your painting. So yeah, gift a painting rather, not sell. So it says, if the icon of the arrival area matches the icon shown on the leftmost reveal tile of your artist board, you may gift that painting tile by removing it from your board and putting it back in the box. And then you're trying to do that because that's going to give you more and more points at the end of the game, because as you'll see, these empty out to reveal points. So the more paintings you can gift to people, the more points you can get. So you definitely want to do that. So I found that this had, in this game, I had a lot more control over what I was doing than in a multiplayer game of Tokaido here, because you're selecting a die and you get to decide what you want to move. You can kind of map out the spaces and figure out, okay, I can go here if I take this die, or I can do this. And you can kind of have a bit more control over what you're doing in this game than in a regular multiplayer game of Tokaido. So if it were up to me, I would always reach for this 2-player version instead of the multiplayer version, because again, I feel like if you're last in turn order to start the game in a multiplayer game of Tokaido, then you are just screwed for the rest of the game. That's my personal feeling about that game. So, you know, I don't know if there's ways to mitigate that, because I feel like, you know, with the way that the turn order goes in a regular game of Tokaido, it always pays not to go too far ahead. But if you're last in turn order, you're just forced to go far ahead because everyone else has already taken the spaces closest to them. So, you know, you're kind of screwed in a regular game of Tokaido. That is not the case in this game. So personally, I would highly recommend this game. If you're looking for a light Japanese themed game with really pretty artwork and just a very fresh, clean aesthetic, which is what I've always loved about Tokaido. Like the aesthetic is just so fresh and clean. I just really, really love it. So yeah, this I think is a keeper for sure. So I would highly recommend this if you are just looking for a fun, light 2-player game with still a little bit of strategy that's very pretty to look at. So that was Tokaido Duo. And again, this was a review copy from Stonemaier. So thank you to Stonemaier for this copy. So let's move on. Because of the time, I'm going to skip what other games I played, but another game that I did play recently that I will try to talk about in next week's video that I really enjoyed is Gingham, designed by Robert Hovakimian, which is a game that I had backed on Kickstarter from Bitewing Games. So I really enjoyed my 4-player game of this, so I'll try to talk about that next time. But there's a lot more stuff that I just want to get through, so I decided let's just move on. So I want to talk about new arrivals now. So basically I'll show first all the games that I received at PAX Unplugged. So I actually did not spend any money of my own at PAX, so everything I'm going to show you is a review copy. So first I will say that the game I already showed you, Take Time, was part of a goodie bag that I received from Asmodee. So I went to an Asmodee event, and as part of that event, they gave me several review copies of games in a goodie bag. So that was one of them. Another one was Forest Shuffle Dartmoor, which is a review copy that I had already received from Asmodee prior to this, but this was in the goodie bag. So I'm actually going to save this copy for next year's raffle to raise money for the cat rescue organization at next year's FlagCon. So I'm not going to open this up, and it just comes with a sticker, so you know, but no shrink wrap, so but hopefully people will know that that's new. So I'm not going to open that up, and I'm just going to save that for next year's raffle. Same with this game. I'm not going to open it up because I'm not going to play it, but that is Splendor, the kids version. So this is a brand new copy that I received from Asmodee as part of the goodie bag. Not going to open this, just saving it for the raffle. And this event was basically something that I attended. It was like an event for content creators, and if you played some of their games that they were showcasing at this event, then you would leave with this goodie bag. So I stayed there for like close to 2 hours just playing some games, and then left with this goodie bag that they had. Another game that came in the goodie bag was Super Meow. Have not decided whether or not I will open this. I will probably just leave it sealed because it just looks like any other small kind of card game. It looks cute. It's got a cat on it, so I think it would be perfect for next year's giveaway as well. So I'm just going to leave that one sealed as well. And then what else did I get from them? I got this one 2-player card game from them, which I cannot find it right now. I don't know where I put it, but oh, here it is. It's right in front of me. Duel for Cardia. So this is a 2-player card game, which was also in the goodie bag. So this one I did open because I heard it was really good and I want to try to play it. And it has djinns in it. So it's about djinns. It says, in gratitude for her liberation, a mighty djinn created the wondrous city of Cardia, blah, blah, blah. So this one I did open and I want to try playing. But of course, you know, the raffle, I do donate a lot of the games that I've played myself that are used. So I might do that. And then in the goodie bag, I think, oh yeah, and sorry, Take Time was part of that goodie bag, which I actually really love. So I'm going to keep this one. So yeah, so played that as well. So that was part of the goodie bag. And then inside the goodie bag, there was a bunch of other small stuff that is like related to games that if you have those games, then it might be good to have this stuff. But I'm just going to maybe just give this stuff away. Like, I have no idea what this is, but this was in the goodie bag. So just leaving that sealed. There's some kind of a play mat for challengers. No idea what that is. There is this thing, Toy Battle. Again, no idea what that is, so leaving that. There's some things that had things that could be punched out, which have fallen out of their punch boards, so I'm not even sure what. I'd have to find the pieces that got punched out, but here's one. So yeah, so this is, yeah, I have no idea what this is. So I don't think I have the game that this goes with, whatever that is, so no interest in that. This thing, again, I also don't know what this goes with, but it had a bunch of pieces that have been punched out accidentally. Let's see, this, what is this? There are some tokens. These tokens look nice, but I don't know what they are. Scoundrels, the 3,000 scoundrels. No idea what this is. If any of this interests you, let me know. I'm happy to send it to you if you want it, if you just want to pay for shipping. I would not charge you, of course, for any of this, because I don't know what it is and I don't want to keep it. Okay, Star Wars The Mandalorian Adventures, 8 acrylic characters. So I don't know if these are just cool standees that you can just play with or if it goes with a game. Disappointed that it doesn't have Grogu, like a whole character standee devoted just to Grogu. Instead, he's just a little tiny little thing there. What else? This looks like it got opened. Oh, it looks like it's part of the game Monkey Palace, which I actually did demo while I was at Asmodee. So Skull Micro Expansion for Monkey Palace, which was a Lego game at Asmodee that I demoed. We have For a Crown, goodies, rules, no idea what that is, part of the goodies bag. Dixit, I do have Dixit, so maybe I'll open up these cards. So it just looks like it might be some new cards for Dixit, which I think could be nice. So there's a human hair there. So actually I'll just open this up since I have Dixit, and I can just add these to my Dixit game. So let's see what we have here. Okay, so this I will actually use since I have Dixit, so that is nice. This one I actually like. And then I think that's it. I think that that's all that there was in this goodie bag. Yeah. Oh no, wait, there's one more thing here. What is this? Timeline twist. Yeah. So if any of these small things are things that you would like, or you have the games that go with them, then please let me know. Happy to send that to you. So that was all the stuff that I received from Asmodee. Then I went, I got some review copies from Ivy Studio. And the cool thing about Ivy Studio is that for these small box games, they have boxes which are specifically meant for content creators, like created specifically for content creators. And it says right on the box, limited edition media. So they had created media copies of these 3 games to hand out to content creators. So I really don't know how these media copies differ from the actual non-media copies of these games, but it's very cool that they did that. Like, I have no clue what the differences are, but just very cool. And they're really nice. So like, here's this one, Pillars of Fate, which is a 2-player game that I'm really excited to try out. And look at these cards that come in here. Like these, they're just so freaking stunning. Just really, really stunning. So this is like a 2-player kind of like Veiled Fate kind of game. So just very excited to play this. Absolutely love the artwork as well. So and the components in this are super nice. Like, it comes with these really nice like wooden components, just super duper awesome. Yeah. So really excited to play this. So that is one of the media copies. Got a media copy of Time to Panic, which I'm really excited to play. So this is a game for 1 to 4 players. So this one, all the cards have been moved. Let me just stick them all back in. I love that smell. It smells so good. So look at these cards. They look really cool. And I'll show you the other side because the colors are nice. So yeah. So these are the cards, and then it comes with a bunch of cool wooden tokens. Okay, so I don't know how to play any of these, but I'm also really excited to play this one. And again, it says media copy right on it, but very cool artwork. And then the last one I received from them is Graft, which is a 10-card drafting game. And this one is for 3 to 5 players. So you have to have a minimum of 3 players to play this. I just want to show you the components because they are really nice as well. So check out these cards first of all. So here are the backs of the cards, which are just super duper cute. And then for the front, it just has like a bunch of different like things on them that you're trying to collect. Just so freaking cool. Like I just love the artwork. I'm just really excited to play this one as well. So really, really looking forward to playing this. And then just check out all of these cool tokens. Oh, like so freaking awesome. And then there are some really pretty cards in this one as well. Like check these out. Yeah. So really nice media copies. Again, don't know what the difference is between these and the regular copies, but just very nice of them to give these review copies. So that was from Ivy Studio. I received 1 review copy from 25th Century Games at PAX, and I'm hoping to get some more from them. So he said that I can reach out by email to get the other games that I wanted, but by the last day, this was the only one that he had available to give to me over there, which was La Habana. So out of all the games that 25th Century had that I was interested in, this was the only one I could pick up there. So I'm going to have to email him to get the other ones I want, which are really, that I'm really eager to get, which are like Botswana, and I can't remember the other ones that I really wanted, but there was a couple that he had come out with recently that I'm really interested in getting. So yeah, so La Habana just seems really cool. So I'm not gonna go into it right now. Hopefully I'll play it soon and then show you guys all the components and how it plays, but just for time, I'm just going to stop going through all of these boxes. So that was another game, a review copy that I picked up. And then 2 review copies from Sunrise Tornado. So I had covered Summer Festival for its Kickstarter, and that is actually Toffee. So that is my cat. So if you open it up, he actually had reached out to me many, many years ago when he started making these cat games, and he was choosing which cats to put in his games, and he asked if he could put Toffee in his board games, and I said yes. So Toffee has appeared in a number of games, and he's also been made into an enamel pin as well. I mean, he actually said that Toffee is like his most selling pin, which is so freaking awesome. So my cat Toffee is famous, and he is the most sold pin, that they were all sold out of Toffee at the convention. So that is really cool. So I just love that my cat is immortalized in a board game. So I received my production copy of Cat Sudoku while I was at PAX Unplugged. And this game I've never covered for him, but I was curious about it. It's a trick-taking game for 2 to 6 players called Fork, which looks really cute. So I picked that up. So that's a review copy. And then finally, I think this is the last thing I received at PAX Unplugged, which is the expansion for Lost Ruins of Arnak. So I know that they've come out with several expansions. I've never played Lost Ruins of Arnak with an expansion, so this will be my first one, and that is Twisted Paths. And I think it's actually like maybe 2 different expansions. I think that maybe you can use either side. So it looks like it's going to be 1 board, and it's double-sided. So you have to play with either the Spider Temple or the Owl Temple. So yeah, so this is really big. So it's like a really big game. So yeah, so we'll have to play Lost Ruins of Arnak again someday. It's been a really long time since I've played it. I think the last time I played that was in 2021. So those are the games that I got at PAX. And then I just want to show a couple more things that arrived recently. So I received some review copies recently. So I received these 2 review copies from a publisher. They reached out to me asking me if I wanted to check out emblems, and I said yes, but they also sent along this one as well. So for right now, I have this still in shrink wrap because I'm not sure if I'm going to get around to playing this one or not, but I was interested in playing emblems when they sent that to me because it looked like a game I might enjoy. So yeah, so looking forward to checking this out. A game that I did not request and have no idea how it got sent to me is Ham Helsing, and I actually saw this being demoed at PAX Unplugged, and I'm probably not going to open this up, and I'm going to just save it for the next year's cat raffle charity fundraiser. So this is Ham Helsing, and it is a cooperative game. Yeah, so I mean, it's just a cooperative deck crafting game. So cooperative adventure board game. So I'm gonna just save this for the raffle for next year. Probably not gonna play that. Again, I don't feel bad doing that because I didn't request that. I have no idea how it was sent to me. Another game that was sent to me, which the designer reached out and asked if I would be interested in checking it out, and I said sure, and that is Gems of Iridecia. And this looks really cool. Like, check that out. That looks really, really cool. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to playing this. So it's for 1 to 4 players, and he sent me these really beautiful metal coin upgrades as well. And as you guys know, I'm a sucker for rose gold, so absolutely love the rose gold colored coins. So looking forward to playing this at some point. And then one more thing arrived, and that was a game I had backed on Kickstarter, and that is So You've Been Cursed. For 1 to 2 players, 0 to 2 players rather, 0 to 2 players. So I have So You've Been Eaten, and in fact, one of my most watched videos ever was my overview video for So You've Been Eaten, which they used as their main video for the campaign. Like, that was the video on the campaign page, like the head video at the very top. So that's one of my most watched videos ever, I believe, at least for overview videos. So yeah, unfortunately I did not get to cover this one, but still very proud of the fact that they used my video as the main video for that previous game that they did. So this arrived, and this was a game that I had backed on Kickstarter, so this is not a review copy. So those are some recent arrivals, and I'm not currently backing anything on Kickstarter, I don't believe, but just to quickly mention, there are, I think, is it still on Kickstarter? By the time this video goes up, it might be finished, but I did cover pop art for R2I Games, and that might be finishing. So let's see if that's done yet. Okay, so that still has some time left, it looks like. I can't see how much time it has left, but it says back this project. So apparently it's still got time at the moment I'm looking at this, but it doesn't say when it's ending. That's weird. Oh no, never mind. I don't know why it says back. Maybe it's for late pledges, but it says that it successfully funded on November 26th. So it raised $31,000, but you can still click on back this project. So maybe they just left it open for late pledges. So that's available. And then another game that I covered recently for Kickstarter or GameFound is on GameFound right now, and that is Hood Troubles in Sherwood, if you guys want to check that out. And you can see my overview video for that. And I did create a sponsored overview video for Troubles in Sherwood. So both my videos for Pop Art and Hood were sponsored, of course. So yeah, so that has raised 94,000 euros so far, which is pretty impressive. Okay, that's Phalanx Games, but I'm currently not backing anything. So let's move on. So I'll just give a quick Culling update. So I recently sold a game, which I was really happy about. So I had purchased this game called Fortunes of Scoundrel Bay at Spiel Essen, played it once at a 4-player count, was miserable while playing it, and that was like a FOMO purchase on my last day of Spiel Essen, and I was able to sell it in a board game selling group on Facebook, and I think I was able to sell it pretty quickly because it's not available in the USA yet, and I guess people have that FOMO of missing out on games that were available at Spiel Essen, so I was able to recoup all the money I spent on it, which made me so happy. Well, it's been a long time since I've done a giveaway, and I still owe some people their games, and now that I've actually started creating a huge call list, I need to email those people and see if there's anything that they would actually be interested in purchasing that I can then combine with the games that they've won to ship to them. So I know that you're waiting on that, and life has been really crazy busy, but I'm gonna email you. I know I owe at least one person an email about that, but it's been a long time since I've done a giveaway, so I want to do a giveaway since today is Thanksgiving and it's the season of giving. So today I'm gonna give away Flourish, which is the signature edition from Starling Games. So if this is a game that you are interested in receiving, the rules always are that you have to be subscribed to my YouTube channel. So that is something that I will check. And when you enter a giveaway, it cannot be the first comment you've ever left on this channel. So if you've never left a comment on any of my videos before, then unfortunately you're not eligible to win, because, you know, I feel like I should get something out of these giveaways too. And engagement helps me, and it helps me to get more review copies that I can then hopefully give away in the future if people are actually watching my content and engaging with my content. So if you meet the requirements to enter, you are eligible to enter, even if you've won a giveaway previously, because it's been a very long time since I've done one. So anyone can enter that meets those requirements. So for Flourish, since it looks like it's a gardening game, just please tell me in the comments below what your favorite flower is, and I will close this giveaway on Friday. What's the next Friday? I believe it's December. Is it December 6th? Let me just check. Sorry, just checking a calendar quickly. December 5th. So this giveaway will close at the end of December 5th. So you have until December 5th to enter. So leave a comment below telling me what your favorite flower is. And of course, again, you have to be subscribed and you have to have left a comment previously on one of my videos. And also the giveaway is that you will pay for shipping, but the game is free. So if you're okay with that, then feel free to enter. So yeah, so that is the giveaway. So, and again, if you want to maybe save on shipping and see what I'm selling, then just let me know. If you win, I'm happy to send you photos of all the games that I have stacked that I'm planning on selling, because I have really started organizing and putting games to the side that I want to sell. So yeah, so that is this week's giveaway, and I'll try to do them more often going forward as I am trying to really clear out and make space. Okay, so let's move on. So for this week's Fiction Book Club, we were supposed to read chapters, I believe, 3 and 4 of the Dollar Gut Dream Making District, if I'm remembering correctly. So chapter 3 dealt with that one customer, disgruntled customer who made a complaint, and that was customer 792. So I thought it was really interesting how this chapter kind of started with Penny talking about this customer, and then we learned about this customer's history and what their complaint was about. And what we learned is that this customer is blind. But they were not born blind. They lost their eyesight about 6 years ago from the time of Penny, you know, receiving this complaint. And then we learn about how, you know, I just thought it was really interesting that this person, you know, their dreams were kind of, they're talking about how dreams are kind of based on memories. And so when they first went blind, they were still having a lot of dreams because they had those memories, I guess maybe vivid or clearly in their mind. But as more and more time went on, their dreams kind of started to go away because those memories kind of started to fade, which is really interesting. And I once read somewhere or heard somewhere that every single face we see in our dreams is a person that we've seen in real life. I don't know how true that is. And I don't know if there's any way to verify this, because I see all kinds of faces in my dreams, and there's faces that I don't even recognize, and I don't recall ever seeing them in person, but maybe I don't even know why my brain would remember a face of someone I just passed by on a street if I've never even exchanged a word with them. So I don't know how true this is, but you know, the author clearly incorporated that into her story by basically making it so that this blind person, as they're going on through life and, you know, as life is progressing and they don't have eyesight, they're starting to not have as many memories and their dreams are starting to fade. So I thought that that was really interesting. And I thought it was interesting the tie between that chapter and then the next chapter, which I guess is chapter 4, is that right? Because you learn that that person's counselor is customer number 1 in the department store. And I thought that that was really interesting. And this customer is a lucid dreamer. So lucid dreaming means, you know, I did a little bit of research on this. So it's like when you are conscious of the fact that you are dreaming and can kind of control your dreams. I think I am capable of lucid dreaming to a certain extent, not all the time, but I think I've definitely had lucid dreams. So I'm a very, very vivid dreamer, so vivid that sometimes I can't distinguish between dreams and memories, because it's really hard for me sometimes. Like sometimes I don't know if something was a dream or if it was actually a memory from like my childhood. Like I have such vivid dreams every night. That's not to say that every dream is realistic. Like I have really vivid dreams of stuff that would never be realistic, that would make the most incredible action movies or horror movies or suspense movies, like some insane dreams. Like I have some insane dreams involving the TV show Lost. So I have seen the entire Lost series 7 times from start to finish. Yes, I'm obsessed with it. And I have dreams that take place after the show ends, where it's like a continuation of what happens. It's crazy. I guess actually not after the show ends, because the show's ending is like a kind of a clear conclusion. So it would actually be before the show ends. It's like they've kind of like gotten off the island, and then I have dreams about what's happening then. It's really insane, but they're so like realistic. So yeah, so, you know, this chapter was about this person who is a lucid dreamer. So she kind of is interacting with these people in the dream department store and everything. So, you know, because this dream department store, it's like a world that exists in dreamland, right? It's not something that these waking people can go to. It's like in their dreams, they're in this like dreamland where they can then go and purchase dreams and have those dreams. So it's not a world that we can experience except in our dreams. And I think that that's really interesting. Yeah, dreams are just fascinating. I don't know, maybe I just really love these books because I've always just been really fascinated by dreams, and because I've always had just such vivid dreams that reading about stuff like this just interests me and makes me think about them more. I don't know. So yeah, so I thought that these 2 chapters were really interesting. And I really like how the author, again, connects one chapter to the next. Like one character becomes the main character, like one side character in one chapter is now the main character in the next chapter. Like I think that that is so interesting. So I'm really, you know, excited to see what happens next. But I guess I don't really have much else to comment on. But let me know your thoughts about these 2 chapters in the comments below. And for next time, let's read chapters 5 and 6. I wonder how many chapters this book is in total. Let's see. So of course there's an epilogue. But the chapter before the epilogue is chapter 9. So it looks like chapter 9 is the chapter before the epilogue. So yeah, I think it'll just be a few more weeks before we finish this book because it's pretty easy reading. But yeah, so for next time, just please read chapters 5 and 6 and let me know what you thought of these 2 chapters in the comments below. So yeah, so let's move on. So for this week's nonfiction book club, we were supposed to read the rest of chapter, whatever the Reza Pahlavi chapter was. I don't remember if it was chapter 7 or 8. I can't remember the chapter number, but I didn't finish it. Sorry. So I've just been really, really busy. Life has been very crazy busy. The last few days I've had to do so much driving. I cannot explain. And I'm talking about after PAX Unplugged. So I had to take my cats to the veterinarian, and I take them to a veterinarian, which is located 2 hours and 15 minutes from where I live because it's a doctor who I really trust, and I haven't found someone locally who I trust. So I took my cats for their annual checkup on Tuesday, and so I drove there 2 hours, 15 minutes, and then it turns out poor Toffee has like teeth issues, and he needed to get a few more teeth extracted, so I had to leave him overnight, and so then I drove back, and then I had to drive again on Wednesday after his surgery to pick him up and then drive back, and today is Thursday when I was shooting this video. So I've been just doing so much driving since I came back from PAX, and I haven't had a chance to do the reading like I was planning, but I really needed to shoot my video today because I just don't have time this upcoming weekend with a wedding that I need to go to. So I really apologize that I did not do the nonfiction reading this week, but I really hope that next week I will have done it, and there should be no reason for me to not have done it for the next time I shoot this video. So again, my apologies, but just please read the rest of that Reza Pahlavi chapter, and we will talk about it next week. Thank you. So let's talk about PAX Unplugged. So this was convention season, and I attended 3 conventions basically back to back. I attended Spiel Essen, and then 2 weeks after that was FlagCon, and then 2 weeks after that was PAX Unplugged. So obviously I was a bit tired, and I just wanted to have a really chill convention where I just hang out with friends and eat good food, and that's basically all I did. And I did play a few games. I went to an Asmodee an Asmodee event for content creators, and I got to demo a few games there, including Ghosts Galore, and there was like this one new game from the same publisher as Meadow and Pergola, which is Rebel Studio. So I got to play 2 rounds of the Trial of the Forest, which was not enough for me to get a good taste of the game. I feel like I would need to play a full game of it before I really decide whether or not I like it. So 2 rounds for me just wasn't enough. And then I played a couple other games. One was called Carnuta, I think. I think that's what it was called. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to find the photos of it, but I did post some pictures on Instagram. But yeah, it's called Carnuta. And then, so I think that those are the only 3 games I played: Carnuta, Ghosts Galore, and the Trial of the Forest. Yeah, those were the only 3 games I played, and maybe I should have talked about them in the games I played section. So I won't go into them now. Maybe I'll talk about them in the next week's video. But I did post a few photos of them on Instagram if you guys want to see. So basically at this PAX Unplugged, I hung out with a couple of friends. So one of my friends that I hung out with, I became friends with over Twitter, and he is someone who watches my content. And he also made a really generous donation for the cats. So I really appreciate that. So it was nice hanging out with Hogan. And then another friend of mine is someone who I met on Instagram a few weeks ago. So he's Palestinian. He's a game designer for Z-Man Games, which is owned by Asmodee. So he had reached out to me a few weeks ago on Instagram because someone, I guess he was talking to some colleagues and mentioning how he's Palestinian or is looking for someone who supports Palestine in the industry, and my name came up. So he reached out to me saying that my name was mentioned as someone who is supportive of Palestinians, and he's designing a game about Palestine, and would just like to chat with me and stuff. So we agreed to meet up at PAX Unplugged, and it was really nice meeting him in person, and we hung out all 3 days, and it was such a pleasure. He's just a really fantastic person, and we talked about all kinds of things, from Palestine to life to just really all kinds of stuff. Like, we just had so many conversations, and it was just a real pleasure hanging out with him, and just a really lovely person. So that was just so much fun. So that was like the highlight of my PAX Unplugged, was meeting him and hanging out with him. So yeah, he's just a very friendly person and just knows a lot of people in the industry too. So he, again, is a game designer for Asmodee, but I'm not sure if I can mention what kinds of games he's working on. I did sign an NDA so I can learn more about his games. But yeah, so I won't mention anything just because I don't want to violate the NDA and accidentally say something I shouldn't say. So yeah, so it was really fun hanging out with him. What else? Yeah, I don't know what else to mention about PAX. I did this cool like Lord of the Rings thing, like where you could go and like complete little challenges in this whole Lord of the Rings room, and then at the end of it get a pin, an enamel pin. So I did that with my friends, which was fun. Yeah, what else did I do? The one thing that stood out at this PAX was I got a shit ton of compliments on my coat. So I was wearing this really pretty red coat, and I kid you not, I got at least like 15 compliments every day on this coat of people telling me how much they love it. So I'm just going to post a picture here, and in case anyone's interested, I don't think that there's many left, but I bought it on sale from this vegan company called Noize, Noize. So yeah, so it's a vegan coat, but it's very comfortable, and it was perfect for the weather in Philly this time of the year. And yeah, very comfortable, and I just loved it, and it just looks so pretty. So yeah, so it's just really nice getting a ton of compliments on that. So just really, really nice to hear those compliments. Yeah, and I got to see some of my favorite people at PAX, like the designer of Obsession, Dan Halligan. Got to meet some of my favorite contacts again, who I see every year at DeVere, so that was nice. Yeah, just a really fun, nice convention, and I'm really glad I went this year. My friend Walid, the designer who I just mentioned, and we had lots of conversations. One of the conversations was about, me and everything that I've gone through in the industry, and how I kind of call people out publicly and whether I should or shouldn't do that. Of course, it's my past experiences which shape my current behavior and why I do the things that I do, because I was publicly called out for things that I felt I shouldn't have been called out for, because I don't think I did anything wrong. And to this day, I will say I don't think I did anything wrong. Like going to an amusement park and taking off a mask for a photo, I still to this day think it was perfectly fine to do that. Like, I was not endangering anyone's life. Like, the world had opened up at that time. So I still will stand by. And this is not doubling down, because I literally did not do anything wrong. Like, and these people who were, criticizing me at the time were all out going to restaurants, getting their nails done. And there was plenty of photographic evidence of that, of them sitting in restaurants without, any masks on and this and that. Yet me going to an amusement park which was mostly empty, and, there was so much space to walk around and not come in contact with people. There was a lot of sanitization happening after each ride that you would take and so on. But, I got bullied to no end for that. So my experiences shape who I am as a person in this industry and how I conduct myself in this industry. So some people might not agree with me calling people out publicly when I think they've done something wrong, but that's exactly what happened to me. So should I be doing something that happened to me that obviously made me feel bad, because I feel like it was not deserved and I felt like I was being bullied and harassed? So, these are conversations that we were having, and I just appreciated that he just seems to be a very compassionate and understanding and empathetic person, and could at least understand like why I do the things that I do. And there might be people who disagree with my methods, but private call outs, like especially when it comes to supporting Zionists in this industry, is a private call out actually going to do anything? Like if I privately message someone and say, hey, you're supporting this Zionist and I think you should stop, I don't think that's actually going to do anything. I think it's public call outs which actually maybe shame people, that can maybe make people change their behavior, or it can make them like become really defensive and be like, well, no, I'm not going to change my behavior, and because you publicly called me out, I'm gonna like even go harder on the thing that you don't want me to do. So I don't know, there's a lot to think about there, but that was one of the conversations we had. But still, I appreciate him meeting with me and just chatting with me about all kinds of stuff, and just being a very nice person, and someone that I can, you know, reach out to in the industry, who understands that, you know, as someone who is not white, how I see so many white content creators who have so much privilege, who will never use their platform to speak up for anything, and how frustrating it can be being a person of color, a minority in this industry, who does want to use her platform for good, but then it causes her to lose business, it causes her to lose friends, and so on and so forth. Like, he is someone who can understand where I'm coming from, and I appreciate that. So it's nice to meet someone in the industry who can maybe understand how it feels to be someone like me in this industry, because it is really frustrating when you, at times, when you see all these white content creators who are super duper popular with really large platforms, who've never once spoken about any issue except for Black Lives Matter, because that was a bandwagon that everyone jumped on and it was safe to do so. But for any other issue, complete silence, and they get invited to all these amazing events at these publishers, headquarters, you know, like Chip Theory Games here and there. There's always the non-problematic white content creators who've never used their platform to say anything, who get invited to these events, right? Like, someone like me will never ever be invited to an event like that. And there's a reason for that. So, you know, it is privilege. These people are privileged. They're privileged that they can just be white and not ever say anything. And no one will call them out for not ever saying anything, as long as they're consistent and never saying anything about anything. So yeah, so I don't know. But we had a lot of interesting discussions about that. So again, it's just nice to be able to relate to someone else in the industry, or have someone else in the industry who can kind of relate to you. Although he is not a content creator, he's a board game designer, so things are a little bit different for him as well. Yeah, and of course he is very loved in this industry, as I could see, you know, just walking through the halls with him, and I am not. So, you know, although there were some people who did stop me and tell me that they love my content, which was really nice. This one person who I'd never met before stopped me to say that he really enjoys my content and wanted to tell me that. So that was really nice. But there is a difference between being an outspoken content creator and a designer who maybe talks about his views only with his colleagues in private discussions, rather than posting them online in the way that I do. So, you know, it's not like he can fully relate, or, you know, he's not like someone I can share every experience with and that he would understand everything, but still nice to kind of have someone who can empathize with me and see where I'm coming from and where my frustrations, you know, are coming from as well. So that was really nice. So we had a really great time hanging out with him and chatting with him, and that was definitely the highlight of this PAX. I'm not sure I remember much else about this PAX, to be honest, because it was a very chill PAX where I just took it easy and just chatted, and just long periods of time where I was just sitting and just, you know, chilling and not really doing anything at all. So yeah, so that was this year's PAX Unplugged for me, and already looking forward to next year, because it is always my favorite con. Even though I'm not really doing much, it's usually my favorite con. I just absolutely love it. And next year it's back in December, and I already booked my accommodations for next year, because websites were having Black Friday deals, and I didn't want to miss out on getting a good accommodation for a good price. So I already booked my accommodations for next year's PAX, which is going to be from December 4th to December 6th, I think, if I remember correctly, something like that. You can look it up and find it if you want. So that is just a quick PAX update. So let's move on. So since I was just talking about PAX, I think I just want to shift over into my rant of the week, which I usually save for the end of the video anyway. So I just want to talk about how every year, it seems like this happens every year at PAX, where Kids Table Board Gaming hosts an event for content creators, and you see a lot of content creators go to this event. And I just want to reiterate that Helena Kappel, the owner of Kids Table Board Gaming, is a Zionist, and the genocide of the Palestinians rages on. It continues. And not only does it continue in Gaza, it's continuing in the West Bank. And we've seen more and more areas of the West Bank being taken over, being settled by Zionists. And more Palestinians are getting killed and kicked out of their homes in the West Bank. It's always been illegal settlement, but this is very, very blatantly illegal settlement of an area that they should not be in at all. So I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, people will not openly, want to go to events hosted by Nazis or go to events hosted by the Ku Klux Klan, but it's perfectly fine for all of these people to go to an event hosted by a fucking Zionist. Like, okay. Like, there is no fucking difference between a Zionist and a Nazi. There is no fucking difference. They both support genocide. They just support genocide of different groups. Nazis supported the genocide of the Jews. Zionists support genocide of Palestinians. And here you have all these content creators who claim to be pro-Palestinian, including, I think I saw in some photos, Matt Lease from Shut Up and Sit Down, who was one of the guys who gave me shit a few years ago during that whole thing, who claimed to be pro-Palestinian at this event supporting this Zionist publisher. Like, it is so fucking infuriating, and just like, it's like no one fucking cares. No one fucking cares. They've completely made it okay to support people who support genocide. It's just insane, because they would not do the same when it came to Black Lives Matter, or if it came to a genocide of the Jews, or if it came to Trans Lives Matter. They would not be supporting content creators who support killing of trans people, killing of Black people, killing of Jews. They would not be supporting, publishers who support that stuff. But here they are supporting a publisher who is perfectly fine with a genocide of the Palestinians. Like, it's just insane. And until more and more people start calling out Zionism in this industry, it's not going to be normalized to boycott Zionists and Israelis in this industry. But it should be fucking normalized, because Israel is an apartheid state. Israel is a terrorist state. Israel is a state that is committing a fucking genocide. And here you have all these content creators who simply give lip service and have maybe once or twice on their profiles written, oh yeah, we support Palestine, Palestinian lives matter, like Matt Lease, for example, which he did years ago. And here he is completely supporting a Zionist publisher without any care in the world about what he's supporting and where his, if you're supporting a Zionist publisher and you're going to their event and posting about going to their event, you're giving them free, marketing. You're giving them free media. And what's that media and marketing going to do? It's going to encourage people to spend money on their games. And where is this money going? It's going into the pockets of these fucking Zionists who support a genocide. Like, why is this so fucking hard to understand? Why people should be, boycotting Zionists. It should not be this fucking hard to understand why you should be boycotting them. And, like that goes for Isaac Shalev, who is a Zionist. It goes for Zionist content creators like Board Gaming Co., Alex Radcliffe, and Quackalope. Like, all these fucking Zionists are people you should be boycotting, but no one fucking cares. Palestinian lives just do not matter. It's just the truth. They just do not matter. People just literally do not care that there are, so many Palestinians still being starved to death, still being killed, still not getting the medical attention that they need, still not getting the food that they need. Like, their tents are getting flooded. Like, it's atrocious, and no one fucking cares. Like, no one cares. It's just very upsetting. So yeah, I don't even know what else to say about that. Like, it's just always going to be this way, it seems, until people really normalize boycotting Zionists and calling them out, just like they call out Nazis, just like they call out people who are anti-trans or anti-Black Lives Matter and so on. So yeah, you need to normalize it. And if you're someone watching this video, it would be great if you yourself could actually start speaking up against the Zionists, because until more people do that in this industry, it's not going to get normalized. And if I'm the only one who's shouting about it, which it seems I am, then nothing's ever going to change. So it's just probably going to be me for like the next 15 years making these videos, just shouting about it in every rant of the week, and no one is ever going to care, and nothing is going to happen. There's going to be no change made. So yeah, so that really sucks. So I guess that's my rant of the week. I'm not sure I have anything else to say about that. So let's move on. So now with PAX over, we know that there are only a few weeks left before I go to Iraq. So there's only going to be one or two more videos before I go to Iraq. So I'll shoot a video the weekend of December 6th and then the weekend of December 13th, but then I fly out the weekend of December 20th, and then there won't be another video until I get back from Iraq, and I won't be able to shoot another video until the weekend of January 10th because I get back to my house on January 4th. So obviously I'm going to be too tired to shoot a video on that Sunday, and I won't have any games to talk about really, because I doubt I'll be getting a chance to play games in Iraq. So then there won't be another video until January 12th. So after this video, there's 2 more videos and then a long break while I am in Iraq. If you are watching this, and I know that the chances of this are pretty small, but if you're someone who's been to Iraq and has any recommendations, please leave them in the comments below. That can be recommendations of places to visit, like sites of importance or restaurants or just anything. Just leave them in the comments below. That would be very appreciated. So again, you know, there's going to be 2 more videos and then a long break. So I'm going to try and shoot my top 10 of 2025 before I go. I'll see if I can manage that as well. That would be nice. So that I can have it scheduled to release in January while I'm gone. That would be good. So I'll try to do that actually. All right, let's move on. This week's question of the week is inspired by Take Time. So typically I'm not a fan of these kinds of cooperative games, like no communication cooperative games, but I want to know whether you are, and if you are, which one is your favorite. So yeah, again, was not a fan of The Crew or other games like that, but I actually enjoyed this one. And if you go back to the segment on this video talking about this game, then you'll see why I actually enjoyed this one and plan on keeping this in my collection. But let me know in the comments below whether you are a fan of no communication cooperative games and why or why not, and if you are, which ones you like. Please list the names in the comments below, and until next time, bye!